Hi everybody, Rich Leiter here. I had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to express today. The first thought I had is kind of relevant to painting. It's relevant to writing, any kind of creative endeavor. And it's actually also just relevant to living life itself, I think. And this is it. We're used to thinking in our society that 1% or 0.5% or 0.1% or even 0.100% of something is unimportant. It's statistically insignificant. That's the way our scientific minds work. If something is 99.99% pure, and there's 0.01% of it which is not pure, well, we don't worry about that because it's so small, right? However, this is not really true, this insignificant notion when it comes to certain endeavors in life, such as painting or writing. Sometimes, have you ever seen a scale, and sometimes it takes almost a trivial amount of weight to tip the scale so that it goes in the opposite direction. It doesn't take much sometimes. You don't have to put a barbell on one side of the weight to tip the scales. Sometimes it's almost ready to be tipped, and you just need that small, statistically insignificant amount to tip it. Well, that's true with art. You keep working and you keep polishing up something that you're working on, and it seems like you're just being being overly obsessive about it, and you're not really accomplishing anything. But the fact of the matter is that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you need that small amount of extra effort to tip the scales and make, say, an average, mediocre painting or piece of writing a brilliant one or an extraordinary one. It'll tip the scales from average to extraordinary. Sometimes it's just a question of polishing it up. So this notion that when people say, well, I basically got what I wanted when I wrote this, or when I painted this, or when I composed this, I basically got what I want. That word basically is a very loaded word. If you keep going, you'll find out that basically turned out to be average. And if you keep polishing it up, and if you really put a lot of elbow grease into it, it might very well become extraordinary. So in terms of art, insignificant is not really insignificant at all. Vladimir Nabokov said about fiction that fiction is all about the details. The devil is in the details. That's right. If you don't have details, you don't have fiction. You have to create your own world when you're writing something. And to do that, it involves having a lot of details. Not faked details, not just artificial things you plug in because your writing instructor told you to, because you're actually living in that world. And when you're in that world, you will see lots and lots of details. And taking the pains to actually see all the details, all the possibilities, that's that insignificant small amount that's necessary to really make a work of art successful. And like I say, this can also be applied to a multitude of situations and experiences in life as well. So that's the first thing. Small when it comes to art may not be small at all. The second thing I wanted to mention, and this is specifically, well, again, it's about creative endeavors, but also life. My experience anyway, many times I'll be working on something, say a painting or a piece of writing, and I'll reach a certain impasse, a certain block. It's not what I wanted, but I don't know what to do about it. And a lot of the time, what I used to do was I would just scrap it, put it in the drawer and forget about it forever, and start a new project. Start afresh, right? That's a very, very prevalent thought also. Well, the problem with doing that is that in this next project that you take up, you will also, more than likely, reach a point where you reach an impasse, where you're stuck. And what are you going to do then? Are you just going to put that piece of work that you put so much effort into away in a closet or a drawer and say, that didn't work out too well either. Let me start a new project. You see what I'm saying? It's very dangerous to do that. You will always reach that impasse, and you have to decide whether you want to face it and work beyond it, or whether you want to just give up. People tend to do that in life, I know that. I've done it in my own life for a long time, and I've observed it in other people. People are looking for something. They try psychoanalysis, and that didn't turn out to be the holy water at Lourdes that they thought it was. So then they try yoga for a while, 3 months, 6 months, and that doesn't do it for them either. They're not totally reborn either doing the yoga. So they say, well, yoga's a dud. Let me do something else. So then maybe they try fasting or some kind of new diet. Maybe that'll do it. And so they kind of drift from one thing to another forever. You have to make a stand at a certain point. You have to say, no, I'm not going to do that. This is going to be my Waterloo. It's not a question of being a perfectionist. It's a question of working through what's blocking you and staying focused on it. That's the tragedy of life. We don't focus long enough on something. We put a magnifying glass to a leaf and focus the rays of the sun on it, and it gets a little warm, the leaf. But we never leave it there long enough for the leaf to start smoldering. We never have enough focus for a long enough period of time. And you just have to decide whether you want to live your life that way or not. I've certainly had enough failures in writing and in painting, particularly in writing, where I've walked away from a project instead of working it through. As a matter of fact, there are certain projects that I gave up years ago, and now I have the maturity and the focus to say, no, I'm going to continue it. There were some good things there, but I was blocked. I didn't know what to do, but now I do. And it goes on, and you work through the blockage. That's very important.